They destroyed my life's work with chainsaws and bulldozers at 6 in the morning, diesel engines roaring, the whole neighborhood echoing with the sound of everything I'd poured my grief and love into being ripped to shreds. I mean, picture this: HOA President Delilah Thornwick standing there in a blinding white blazer, directing a dozen workers to demolish my hand-carved memorial bridge. No permits, no warning, just pure, cold-blooded destruction. The bright yellow bulldozer's blade caught my cedar railings. 6 months of grief therapy. After Sarah died, every duck motif I'd carved by hand just splintered and shoved into Willowbrook Lake with a sickening crack and splash. Chainsaws shrieked through those posts I'd sanded smooth, and Delilah watched like a general inspecting her troops, not one blonde hair out of place. Her arms folded, eyes dead flat, just watching my heart break out loud. She called it visual pollution. But here's what she didn't know. For 3 months, I'd been quietly studying federal wetland law, digging into every document I could get my hands on. And buddy, I had her 1987 property survey showing something that would make her Chanel suit shrivel. That $2.8 million glass mansion she flaunted, built on protected wetlands clear as day. I'll get to that, just hang with me. Name's Ezra Blackwood, 58, retired Navy civil engineer widower. 6 months ago, Sarah lost her battle with cancer, and I moved to Willowbrook Lake Estates, figuring maybe building something would help me stitch my heart back together. Sarah collected wooden ducks, hundreds of them, after she died. I couldn't stand to look at them, couldn't throw them out. So like any stubborn engineer, I built something. A memorial bridge connecting my old dock to the little island where I'd scattered her ashes. 6 months of dawn to dusk work. I hand-carved the railings, sanded each cedar plank till it was slick as silk, every joint fitted so tight you'd think it was jewelry. Sandpaper and sawdust became my meditation, and the honest scent of cut wood that was my salvation. The neighbors seemed all right at first, Retired couples, families with kids who'd waved from their kayaks houses, running the gamut from cabins like mine to those lakefront mansions with lawns rolling down to private beaches. Then Delilah Thornwick rolled into my life like a tornado made out of perfume samples and lawsuits. 52 platinum hair white Tesla with blessed one plates, living in the biggest house on the lake, all glass and angles, shouting, "Look at me," without saying a word. She strutted up my gravel drive while I was rubbing linseed oil into the bridge heels, clicking clipboard in hand, smile sharper than a fillet knife. "Good morning. I'm Delilah Thornwick, HOA president." Her voice was all fake honey. What a rustic little project, she said, and made rustic sound like a contagious disease. I told her, "It's a memorial bridge for my wife." She almost let her mask slip, almost human for 2 seconds, then snapped right back. I'm sure she would have loved it. "But we need to discuss some concerns." Oh, here we go. She rattled off something about aesthetic harmony and anonymous concerns, saying my bridge was disrupting the natural vista, might hurt property values. You know the drill. Perfume so thick I could barely smell the cedar. She handed me a formal notice, 48 hours to remove the bridge or further action would be pursued. I read the letter, saw the codes didn't match anything in my covenants, and said, "This bridge honors my dead wife. It's not coming down." Her face went cold as January ice. "You clearly don't understand how things work here," she said, her voice all tight and high. I told her, "You're a bully in designer clothes, and money doesn't give you the right to stomp all over people." She took a step back, shocked, but recovered fast. "I'll be in touch, Mr. Blackwood, very soon." I stood there breathing in the scent of cedar and pure rage, realizing she'd just picked a fight with the wrong old Navy engineer. 48 hours blew past like a bad storm. My bridge stayed put, oiled up and shining. Next morning, Delilah's Tesla reappeared, this time with a nervous-looking guy in a cheap suit, Gerald Voss from the county building department. He started reading off violations, structural integrity, navigation hazards, environmental impact. He hadn't set foot on my property, but suddenly I'm a threat to spawning fish. Here's the twist. Delilah had paid for an inspection of my land trespass to do it, and handed Gerald a stack of photos. That's called breaking and entering where I come from. So I pulled out a folder with the real HOA rules. Section 4.2 right there says docks, piers, and connecting walkways are allowed. Gerald started sweating. I flipped to the page about rule changes needing a 2/3 homeowner vote. When was that vote, Mrs. Thornwick? Delilah sputtered about board authority, but the mask was cracking. Gerald admitted the violation notices had no leg to stand on, but Delilah wasn't done. She threatened further inspection. I handed Gerald my own formal complaints about harassment and false reports filed with both the county and the state HOA commission. Delilah hissed, "You have no idea what you're dealing with." I just smiled. Is that a threat because Gerald here is a county employee and you just made it in front of witnesses? As they left, I tasted the first real victory I'd had since Sarah passed. But 3 days apiece, that's all I got. Thursday morning, the community boat launch was locked up tight. Giant padlock, crisp white notice from Pinnacle Property Management. Never heard of them. That's when my neighbor, Mabel Fitzgerald, 73, shuffled over with her terrier Winston. They locked me out too, she said, shaking with anger. Mabel's been feeding the ducks for 15 years now, hit with $200 daily fines. Since when do we have a property management company, I asked. Since Tuesday emergency HOA meeting, she said, rolling her eyes. Only 5 people showed all Delilah's tennis club pals. Something snapped inside me. I started digging. Pinnacle had contracts with 47 HOA's lawsuits in 2 states for predatory practices. Same pattern every time. Manufacturer violations rack up fines, justify management fees. Mabel, who used to work at the courthouse, helped me dig up the real dirt. Turns out Pinnacle's contract gave them a commission on fines collected, so the more they wrote, the more they made. And they only targeted modest homes, never the mansions. But here's the kicker. Mabel's original 1987 deed included perpetual lake access, a legal easement predating any HOA authority. That padlock illegal as a $3 bill. I cut it off myself, left it on Delilah's doorstep with a note, Maritime Rights established 1987. Lock this again and I file federal charges. Her Tesla peeled out 20 minutes later. By Monday, it got real. A thick envelope from Whitman and Associates, Delilah's fancy lawyers, arrived demanding I remove the bridge, pay $15,000 or they destroy my life. I called my old Navy buddy, Jake Morrison, now a lawyer. Ezra, these people are either desperate or stupid, probably both. Their lawyers are in bed with Pinnacle. That's a conflict of interest. I'm filing a bar complaint today. Also, they specialize in these HOA extortion rackets, 43 cases in 2 years, all the same. Jake's advice, fight back. Nobody ever does. He said, but if you do, you'll break the whole system. And I had the resources. Sarah's insurance had left me comfortable and stubborn as hell. I dove into property records, business filings, environmental assessments by sunset. I'd mapped out the whole fraud. 3 mansions, including Delilah's, built inside protected wetland zones, illegal as it gets. EPA penalties run up to $37,500 per day. Federal law doesn't care about property values. That night I called the EPA. This is Agent Sarah Crawford, a voice answered. I laid it all out. Illegal fill, fraudulent permits, chemical contamination. She said, we'll have an inspector on site within 48 hours. I barely slept, poring over maps and legal codes until I found original 1987 documents showing those mansions were built on stolen wetland. If you ever need a jolt at 3 a.m., realizing you're holding the fate of a $12 million real estate scam in your hands will do it. By Thursday morning, my house looked like a command center, property maps, documents, coffee everywhere. Jake showed up, so did Mabel, plus Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the university EPA's consultant. Water contamination up 340% since 2020, all traced to those same 5 mansions. Tommy Dakota, the local reporter, joined the fray, camera in hand, grinning like he'd found the story of his career. Turns out every construction permit for those mansions was based on falsified environmental surveys. Same crooked consulting firm, same 2-year window. Jake said, "That's RICO territory racketeering. If we prove coordination, everybody's going to jail." Then Tommy linked Pinnacle's finances to the consulting firm full circle. The scam was bigger than we thought. EPA and FBI arrived early Friday. Black SUVs at the boat launch, testing kits in hand. Delilah screeched up in her Tesla silk pajamas, face mask, waving her phone around, yelling about connections. Agent Crawford didn't even blink. "Ma'am, federal law supersedes local property rights. You can call anyone you want, but this investigation will proceed." Delilah tried to bribe me 50 grand in cash to drop my complaint. Her crisis manager sweating bullets. I just pointed to my phone, recording the whole thing. "This is bribery and conspiracy, and I'm sending it straight to the feds." They left in panic. Agent Crawford declared her mansion an environmental hazard. Saturday morning news vans descended. Tommy's expose went viral and FBI surveillance sat outside Delilah's mansion. She panicked, filed a bogus restraining order claiming I was harassing her, dangerous, unstable. Deputy Walsh handed me the papers, clearly embarrassed. Agent Crawford took one look. Obstruction of justice. Attempted witness intimidation. Johnson cuffed Delilah on her own lawn, cameras rolling. Her own husband's law firm dropped her within hours. That night at an emergency town hall, Delilah tried to play the victim, tears trembling voice, blaming folk art projects for everything. The room fell silent. I stood up, showed decades-old aerial photos, wetlands before mansions after EPA data on water contamination. The crowd turned 4 minutes of standing ovation, people finally seeing what really mattered. 6 months later, Willowbrook Lake was healing. Delilah was bankrupt and banned from HOA boards for life. Her glass mansion condemned property values down 60%. Our new board, me as President, Mabel as secretary, tore up every petty rule she'd written. EPA restored 12 acres of wetland wood ducks, and blue herons returned fishing bans, lifted Sarah's Bridge, now the heart of the neighborhood. We started the Sarah Blackwood Environmental Scholarship, 50 grand a year for local students. Elena and I, well, sometimes you get a second chance at happiness, and it doesn't dishonor the past, it honors it. So here's my question for you. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Does justice mean fighting for what's right, even when it costs everything? Drop your wildest HOA story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more tales where regular folks beat the system. And sometimes, just sometimes, nature herself gets the last word. You know what I mean?